All right, we are back for Roundtable Rams, episode number 11. I am once again joined by Billy Melissa. Buddy is not with us today. He is taking a little bit of a break, which we understand. So we will just move right along without him to talk all about Rams football and lack thereof in terms of news. But hey, when things are going good, they're going good, I guess. I don't know what to say.
They're
But
enjoying that off season.
but they do actually have a bit of a concerning issue, in my opinion, right now that has not been yet worked out. And especially because of the news that just broke this morning that Carson Wentz has signed a 1 year deal with the Minnesota Vikings to remain there, which is interesting in and of itself. But we are not a Vikings podcast. We don't need to go into that. But the point being, the backup quarterbacks are now very, very thin, and the Rams have yet to sign a backup quarterback. They do have Stetson Bennett on the lineup, on the roster, and in the past they've shown that they can't really trust him to be the backup quarterback. He's usually the third emergency quarterback, the practice squad guy, but they need a backup. Jimmy Garoppolo has not been re-signed for some very odd reason. Maybe they just believe that he's going to come back, but they are also playing a very dangerous game because there are still teams that need that backup quarterback, i.e., the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders only have Aiden O'Connell on their line on the roster right now as a back. I mean, as a quarterback. There's a chance he may not even be back. But the point being, he still would be the third emergency quarterback. Say they draft Fernando Mendoza, then they go and get Jimmy Garoppolo, who has familiarity with the Raiders already. So it's just very confusing to me right now that they have not gotten a backup quarterback. Tua Tagovailoa is not with the Atlanta Falcons. Kyler Murray is also with the Vikings. Carson Wentz is with the Vikings. Zach Wilson's available. There's just very few that you would really. I assume that they would really want to be the backup in case Matthew Stafford goes down.
Yeah, I think they're putting all their eggs in the Matthew Stafford basket. That's the narrative, isn't it? And if he goes down, well, of course they still want to come out on top, but they know realistically, like, it's going to be an uphill battle if anything were to happen to him. Does it signal looking towards the draft at taking Ty Simpson? Number 13, is that maybe something they saw in the combine? They liked what they saw and they think that he'd be great. And with Matthew Stafford obviously in that starting job for this season and potentially next season and maybe beyond, we don't know. That gives Ty Simpson a little bit of time to kind of come up behind him, learn, and then become the starter. Maybe Jimmy Garoppolo will just come back. Maybe they just assume he will. Maybe they've had conversations and talks with him about what the future looks like. And hey, Philip Rivers.
I mean,
Joe Flacco, the
Joe,
guy's still out there.
yeah. So again, this is crazy to even say, but Aaron Rodgers is there. He's not going to be playing backup to anybody in his last season,
Nope.
presumably last season. You got Kirk Cousins, but again, I don't believe that Kirk Cousins would want to go and play backup again after how the Atlanta Falcons treated him. I think he's going to go somewhere where he gets a shot to start and he won't sign a contract otherwise, which he's made buku bucks, so why would he? You got Joe Flacco, as you just mentioned. Tyler Huntley, Tyrod Taylor.
Yep.
There's not a lot. I mean, even Gardner Minshew signed with the Cardinals. Kenny Pickett, I forgot where he went, but he went somewhere. There's not a lot of people. It's really weird that the Rams are waiting so long to sign anybody.
To figure this out. Yeah, I don't know. I assume they have a plan. I don't necessarily know what it is. But yeah, it is one of those things where when everything else is so set and everything else is looking great, you do just want that guy just in case things do start to go south.
Yeah. Oddly enough, I saw a really wild rumor that if he came out of retirement, that Derek Carr would be a
Yeah.
possibility to back up Matthew Stafford, which, hey, if he wants to, there's way worse teams to go and sign if you're Derek Carr, and especially
He's like, hey,
because
a free ring sounds great.
I mean that and also like the opportunity to start because if Matthew Stafford did in fact get hurt, Derek Carr would go right into the game. And regardless of his injury history, the tail end of the season there and coming out of retirement, Derek Carr is still pretty good in comparison to all the other people that we mentioned. No offense, guys, but I mean, Derek Carr over Zach Wilson for sure. Derek Carr over Joe Flacco for sure. Like all those guys. But again, nobody knows if Derek Carr is going to come out of retirement and if he would even consider being backup, which I think he probably would be more in line to do that because you're coming out of retirement. Like you probably need some time to,
before you get on the field.
yeah, exactly, exactly. Let me see. I'm getting some. No, these are not available. There we go, available. Sorry. I'm looking on Sport Track at like quarterbacks that are available, and it's giving me the weirdest. Okay. Russell Wilson is also available still. Um,
hmm
that's not a,
Sounds great.
yeah, but I mean, like when you're looking at it, like you only really have to pay Jimmy Garoppolo like $3 million as opposed to you probably have to give Russell Wilson a little bit more.
Yeah.
Um, Brandon Allen, I guess, is available. You got Easton Stick, Brett Ripon, Skylar Thompson. Skylar Thompson wouldn't be a bad decision to make right there for the Rams, but I don't know. I don't know what they're waiting on. I don't know if they believe that Garoppolo could come back, but they're taking their sweet time. And let's just jump right into what you were mentioning too. I think maybe you're right. Maybe the Rams are just taking their time because they are fully expecting to take Ty Simpson at number 13 overall, which,
They don't have a whole lot of other issues going on for them.
I mean, Les Snead had said that they're not in panic mode to get a quarterback right now, which they shouldn't be.
Mm-mm.
They don't need to be. But I don't know. They need that insurance because regardless of how well Matthew Stafford played, even after his presumed back injury issues in training camp last season, if he goes down, they're screwed. It's
Yeah.
very similar to the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson. If Lamar Jackson goes down, you are screwed. So you can't trust Stetson Bennett. So there needs to be somebody there. But that being said, maybe they are going to get a jump on everything, and maybe they will take Ty Simpson. He's been mocked to them plenty of times. The drawback of that is obviously what we talked about before, matching them together. We've discussed this simply because he doesn't have a lot of tape. He has a 1 year where he started, and that's it. But he played really well. So maybe Leslie is just blowing smoke to make sure that nobody else goes and gets Ty Simpson before they can at number 13 overall.
Yeah, playing the elusive long game, being like, "Oh, we don't need a quarterback. Don't worry about it. Don't be looking at Ty Simpson." And it's true that 13 overall pick in the first round, they can be creative with that. They're not looking for a starter the way that everyone, not desperate for a starter the way that all the other teams are. They
Mhm.
can bring in a quarterback to train under Matthew Stafford. And I think also another possibility with that is a wide receiver. I think that I read that Devontae Adams signed like a bonus over the weekend, so it doesn't look like he's going anywhere. So, to have a receiver kind of again come in, train under those guys, and then be ready to go when Adams retires, because, he's
Mhm.
getting older for a receiver. I think that they're just a little bit more flexible, and I think that they're just probably assessing all their options because they're not in any kind of panic mode for any kind of position. They got their cornerback and their secondary sorted out. They're good.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly what you just said there. I think because they still have a really really good roster where it's like you're gonna either kind of like they need a wide receiver for sure, but I mean you don't have to go and get one in the sense of like you still got Kanata Mumfield, you still got Xavier Smith. You don't really quite know what you got there with those guys, but you brought Tyler Higbee back. You got Tyler Higbee, you got Colby Parkinson, you got Terrence Ferguson, you got your playmakers still in the building. So
Yep.
you need somebody that's going to come in and replace Adams. So it would make sense to go get a Makai Lemon or a Carnell Tate or a Jordan Tyson. But at the same time, what if they could trade down and get any one of those guys later, which we know Les Need was probably going to do with that number 29 overall pick, but they turned that
Yeah.
into Trent McDuffie, which was smart as all hell because Les Need just knows what he's doing. But I think too on that with Ty Simpson, what if they traded down because everybody's like this class is not that great. Obviously, Fernando
Yeah, I thought
Mendoza is
that.
going to go number one overall, but everybody's still not sure about Ty Simpson. So if he falls to like the later first round or even the beginning of the second, if you trade down and you're able to stack another first round pick with a team that needs to jump up there to get a plug and play offensive lineman or a wide receiver or what have you, who's to say you can't get Ty Simpson in the lower 20s and still make out like a bandit?
That's my second line of attack is I think, they're really eyeing that 2027 draft. It's more viable for them to go and get Matthew Stafford's replacement next year. So do they really need it? No, it's just like a little chip that they can kind of play with. And like you said, I don't know that there are any other teams out there desperately after a quarterback. The Dolphins just paid Malik Willis to come over, that they're not after a quarterback necessarily, even though I think we've spoken about the Dolphins, wanting to add a quarterback every year to, have that competition or whatever. So they might take him. I just don't know if they're probably like sniffing around the league and seeing what people are looking at, seeing how he is for other teams. And I think that 13th slot is really just going to be a case of, when the night comes, how it falls.
Yeah, I think so too. I think you're right. I think they're going to see how the board plays out, and if all of those guys, like if you're Vig Ione, if you're Francis Mauigoa, if you're
Yep.
Makai Lemon, you're Carnell Tate, they're already gone.
Then they're like,
What's
well,
yeah, what's stopping you from trading back? Because they're saying too, it's not a very top heavy draft as well. So a lot of teams may not even want to stick around in that top 15-ish or whatever. They may want to trade back, which again, like you're already your roster's good. So you have a lot of flexibility, and obviously they need to prepare for the future. But as we know, the Rams like to go F them picks and just go all in anyway.
mhm.
There's still the whole thing with AJ Brown, which they said they're out, but I don't believe that for a second. But we'll get more into that in a second. But yeah, I just think, like you said, they have so much flexibility, and they just kind of see where the chips fall and then go from there. But it's if they do not sign Jimmy Garoppolo or any backup quarterback in the
Yeah.
next 2, 3 weeks, I think we're looking at a real possibility that they are going to go after Ty Simpson. But that's the problem too. Are other teams going to realize that by them not signing a backup quarterback and go, I think the Rams are making a play, and then they go and get Ty Simpson instead. But they are at a really advantageous spot at number 13 overall, regardless.
Yeah. I mean, for a team that did as well as they did last year to be at 13, great, to still be coming in and having that opportunity in the top 15 to pick a guy that could really make a difference for your team. So it really is, it's so hard to talk about the Rams because quite frankly, they could do anything with that. And it would be beneficial for their team because they're already pretty solid. I think the one thing, like we have said, Malgo is a great option for them because I think now, if you're looking at the very last thing that you really want to fine tune is probably that offensive line.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
oh,
you
go
know,
ahead. Yeah.
no, I was just gonna say, well, if that's all you got to think about, then, and if he's gone by then, well, then, trade back, deal with it next year.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is like right now, even if they go and get Francis or they go and get Vega, like those guys are going to be depth anyway. They're not going to be starters on
Yep.
that line because that line is already really good. Obviously, they've had injury issues, and that would be the major reason why they would need to go and get more offensive line help because you need to go and protect Matthew Stafford regardless. But it just doesn't seem likely, or rather, there's no guarantee for the Rams right now. There's no like, even though like Daniel Jeremiah or Mel Kiper, all those guys are mocking them to certain people. I just don't feel like there's a consensus right now about what
No,
the Rams could do because
they don't have an
they're
obvious need.
they have needs, but they don't have an obvious need where they're like,
Yeah.
okay, well, I'm gonna go and get this blue chip player potentially at this spot because they don't need to, they yeah. And again, if they would have still had the number 29 overall pick, they would have done something with that too. But they turned that into Trent McDuffie, which was smart, which was great. They just upgraded the
Hmm.
secondary. Like you literally saved yourself a lot of grief with potentially going and getting Jermon McCoy or Mansour Delane or whoever it was
Yeah.
in the secondary you needed to get with that 13th pick. So I don't know. It's anybody's guess what the Rams plan to do right now, to be honest. But I just
Probably
think
one of the most exciting things to look for in the draft this
no,
year.
really, really though. Yeah, that's true. And it's like, okay, so we can keep theorizing what they're gonna do or they're gonna go for, but I think there's a real strong possibility that they could be potentially using that pick to get Ty Simpson.
Yeah. I don't see why
And
not.
and if they did go and get Ty Simpson, like you also said, he gets to sit for a year, presumably a year, could be 2 years under Matthew Stafford. 2 years preferably, because then you're learning from arguably the best quarterback in the league
Yeah.
right now. Obviously, Lamar Jackson's there, Josh Allen's there, Joe Burrow's there,
Hey,
but
the league says
the
MVP,
league
so I'll give it to
MVP.
him for the year.
He's currently the best quarterback right now. But I mean, he played out of his mind and he's only gotten better with age. So what better person to guide a young quarterback, especially Ty Simpson, who only has 1 year starting in college. So I think it's a strong, strong possibility that's what they're gonna do if they do not sign a veteran, which they may even still do. They may even still bring in a Garoppolo or a Flacco or whoever. And then
And that doesn't
also,
mean they're not going after Simpson. So
yeah, exactly. And then you have Simpson, who's that third emergency quarterback, the practice squad guy, whatever the case may be. And then you get rid of Stetson Bennett because I just don't think he's going to stick around. Yeah.
good to be the Rams is all I have to say about that.
Yeah.
I
I
think it
mean,
really is just going to be for them on the night. They're just playing the game, see what happens, and they're pretty going to be relaxed about it, as relaxed as an NFL GM can be.
yeah, definitely. Going back to the wide receiver aspect of things, which we talked about, you got your Makai Lemon, you got your Carnell Tate, your Jordan Tyson. But the Rams were connected more recently to AJ Brown. We've talked about this before, and it appears that they are out of the running for the trade. More recently, Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk indicated that there's some preliminary medical research
Mm,
that they were worried about that happened. I don't know if this is in the same vein as the Ravens backing off out of the Max Crosby trade because he did just
it's
have
not as
surgery.
bad though because they didn't announce it to anyone.
Right. So apparently the Rams were one of the teams that were very all in on AJ Brown, but one of the sticking points obviously was the trade compensation. Howie Roseman wanted like a first and a second round pick and
Yeah,
more and a player or something like that, which like AJ Brown is great, but I don't think you're going to give up more than a first round pick because of his age and everything going on that front. But
yeah,
apparently, Mike Florio says, let me see. He says, "quote They were talking to the Eagles about AJ Brown. They got scared off by some of, as I'm told, preliminary medical research. They decided too much of an investment for a player at this age, general wear and tear. We're not going to do it." End quote. Um, he missed the game last season with a hamstring injury, three in 2024 with the hamstring. He's 29. Maybe the soft tissue injuries are a concern there. Maybe the hamstring coming back up because once you get a hamstring, it just seems like those things just keep popping up. Happened to
yeah.
Devontae Adams. He missed a good amount of the season because of a lingering hamstring. So did Tutu Atwell, who's now with the Dolphins. So I don't know. I don't know if that's how true that is or whatever. But I've read several reports. We've written about it too on Roundtable Rams about the Rams backing out of the idea of going and getting him. I don't know.
Yeah, I think if you're looking for a guy who is kind of like the padding for Devontae Adams in case he does get injured, like you're not looking at a guy with a similar injury issue. You know, that's not something that you don't want then to just bring in AJ Brown and then what? He also gets injured, and then what do you do? Especially when it costs you that first round pick that again we said they don't really need, so it is completely feasible for them to go ahead and say, you know what, take it. It's not something that we need to do this year. I mean, yeah, I think that's a completely valid reason, and I think there's no reason to panic about it. There are other teams that well, I think the Patriots are one of the teams looking into him. We've spoken on Roundtable Ravens about you know, him potentially looking over in Baltimore, looking at him. There are plenty of teams that could, but I do think it's going to be one of those things where it just keeps dragging on past the draft, and that's not going to be something that's dealt with before then.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. Yeah. Adding AJ Brown would be huge.
Great for them.
Huge. Huge for the Rams, especially because with Devontae Adams presumably on his way out with Matthew Stafford. You still get a good few years out of AJ Brown if you bring him in. You could even sign him to a 2 year deal and just see what happens.
Yeah.
See how he does in his first year. Second year, if it doesn't work out, then you cut ties or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I think it would be great, but I don't know how true or not true this medical history thing is.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of like medical and these guys are probably having a panic because they're like, I think my body's great. What do you mean that I've got some preliminary medical issue that I don't know about or is looking unlikely that I'll be playing at my peak for the next few years? It must be nerve-wracking for them to keep having these like reports made about them. But I think he's going to be fine. He's going to end up somewhere, whether it's in Philadelphia or New England or Baltimore or wherever it's going to be. I just think for the Rams, it's just one of those things where like it would be great. Of course, it would be great. You know, you have Nakua, who's wonderful, and then you've got Adams, who's great when he needs to be, and adding AJ Brown is only going to amplify that. And I think when you've got a team like Seattle 2 times a year, that's what you need. You need to just be putting up more points than them because it's a defensive battle on both ends.
Hmm.
And so you do need those playmakers who can go downfield and just score those points for you. So like it sounds great in theory. It's just like is the price too high to pay?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, because you only have one first round pick left, number 13, which is a high first round pick. So I don't
Yeah,
think the Rams are going to want to give that up for AJ Brown, to be honest, especially if whatever this medical research is true. If they did find something concerning about his long-term longevity, you're giving up your first round pick to, but see, that's the weird part though. That's the thing that kind of confuses me about it because it's like F them picks 2.0, right? Like, wouldn't you want to take that swing? Because even if you only get one good year out of them, this could be the year, as you just said, where you're able to put up more points than the Seattle Seahawks, then the San Francisco 49ers, then, the Eagles and all the other competitive teams that are still in the NFC that you have to get back over again. I personally don't think that it's necessarily that you need that third wide receiver. I think it's more so the defensive, but they already upgraded their
mm,
defense, especially
yeah,
the secondary in a big way, because if they had a better secondary, who knows how much better they would have been stopping Sam Darnold from throwing nearly 350 yards and three touchdowns in the
special
NFC
teams too.
Yeah, and special teams, you got rid of Chase Blackburn, you got Bubba Ventrone, I believe it is, from the Browns now running that. And yeah, you can boil it down to this play, that play, or whatever, but we know that the secondary was not great. But because of how good the offense is, that was kind of buried underneath that. You were able to get over those other teams because you were putting up so much more points, but then you run into a juggernaut like the Seattle Seahawks, who do have a good defense, and their offense can still
Great
hang as
defense.
well. Yeah, and so
Hmm.
the top defense in the league, and that's they went to the Super Bowl and won it for that reason. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think Seattle's the thing that's standing between them, and so they really do just have to build around like that particular issue.
Mhm.
When you are doing just great, and like sure, 12-5 is great, but it's not, you know, just you're not just losing to the Seahawks. There's other issues that you're having, and I think it's always been like a slip up, just a really small thing, and they're just fine tuning, like the special teams fine tuning that secondary. And I think that for me, it is really just Seattle that's standing between them. So you need to stop them from scoring points and you need to put up more points than them. And I think that the only way to do that is through just, they've already done it. They've dealt with those. And I think that a receiver would be great for them. I think if they're not bringing AJ Brown in, then I think that that receiver option for the with the 13th pick sounds good. But again, like there are so many other things you could do with that. And when there's not really that much of an issue to be dealing with,
Yeah.
the Rams are having a good time.
Yeah, they definitely are. The roster's still there. They didn't lose a whole lot. I mean, Roger McCurry left and Kobe Durant left, but you got Trent McDuffie, you got Jalen Watson, you kept
Yep.
Cam Curl, you still got Quentin Lake. The ability, the benefit of Watson and McDuffie is that they are going to be able to open up the defense more for Quentin
Yeah.
Lake and for Cam Curl to do their thing, which, Lake was hurt, but, Cam Curl was insanely good in 2025, and he's only going to get better, it seems. So,
Hmm.
and their run stopper cornerbacks as well. They're not just good lockdown corners. They can stop the run. So, I mean, defensively, they got so much better just in a short period of time with those two
Yeah. Over
signings.
2 days, I think it
Yeah,
was.
yeah, exactly.
They were
Two
like,
days.
okay, done. What's next?
Yeah,
Quarterback, let's have a think about that. Receiver, nah, nice to have. But also the AJ Brown thing, backing out of it doesn't, or like you said, doesn't mean anything. Like they
mm,
could just be retracting, putting something out in the press that kind of pushes other teams off, and it holds the Eagles to having to wait until June 1st to figure it out. And that benefits them because they get to keep their first round pick, and then it's just another issue that they have to deal with in a few weeks' time. So I think it's the same as what you said. I don't really think that they're out, but I think that they're performing out to kind of lower the value a little bit.
yeah, definitely,
That's
definitely.
tinfoil hat stuff, but
I mean, these are what. Oh my God, I have a tortoise and she just started yawning. I've never seen that. Anyway, yeah, she's. Yeah, let me grab her.
get that live.
I'm gonna get that live right now.
Yeah,
Come
get
here,
the
lady.
tortoise out.
She's
Tortoise
scared.
and three dogs.
Yeah, she's scared, but. This is Boo.
Hey, girl.
This is
Welcome.
Boo. She's a sulcata tortoise and she's awesome. And she gets scared, but then she'll come out of her little shell. I'm petting her leg right now.
Oh,
And
how do
she,
you feel about playing for the Rams?
yeah, can you play center for the Ravens? I
Please, we're
think,
looking.
I think she can. Yeah. Anyway, she yawned, and I've never seen her do that. That was really cool.
She's like, this again? You
She
still
has,
talking about football?
she has to listen to me ramble on for 3 podcasts every week. No, yeah, but backing out of the AJ Brown, yeah, trade doesn't really mean a whole lot right now. I mean, they're going to be protecting their investment of that first round pick and whatever else as well. I think if they would have made a play, because if the Eagles would have wanted a player, I think the players that they would have been open to trading for AJ Brown are already gone.
Yeah,
And they were already unrestricted free agents anyway. So it's like you don't want to give up who you got right now in the building, in my opinion. So we'll see. I mean, there's still receivers out there that are not AJ Brown that are not going to
yep.
cost a lot of money. D Hop is still there. I
He's
think
there.
I think D Hop on the Rams would be kind of cool to see.
Is
He's
Devo Samuel still there?
I don't know. Did he sign with anybody? I think he might still be available too.
He was there last week, unless he's found a home since.
Let's see.
So yeah, that's two names already if Devo is still free agent.
Yeah, he's still. I think he is.
Well, there you go, Rams. Some options.
Let's see. Looking really quick. Looking really quick. Why do you do this, Sport Track? Available. Okay. So some available. Tyreek Hill, obviously, that's going to be a gamble for anybody. Stephon Diggs is still there. Debo Samuel is still there. Curtis Samuel. Jawan Jennings is there. D Hop is there. I know Greg Dortch just signed a contract, so he shouldn't be on there anymore. Keenan Allen is there. You got some
Lots of
names.
names.
You
Yeah,
got some names.
that
I
don't
mean,
cost as much.
and maybe that's the whole point too. Maybe they're waiting to see if the Eagles get desperate enough to lower that price by a significant amount. Maybe they lower it to a second and third rounder instead of a first rounder. And then you go,
Mhm.
cool, here you go, take it.
Got that.
They're not in panic mode for anybody. They're not in panic mode for a quarterback. They're not in panic mode for an offensive lineman. They should be upgrading that position, but it's not panic mode. It's not like we need to get
No.
somebody in here right now. They didn't lose anybody really. They brought people back. Even David Questenberry that brought back, he was one of their best backup rotational offensive linemen. They brought him back. Um, yeah, I
Coaching
just
staff wise, they've padded that out, so they can play around with them second round and third rounders.
Yeah. It's just it's just they have so much flexibility right now. They really do. They can take their time. They can kind of do whatever they want right now. It's still a concern that they haven't signed a backup quarterback, but again, everything we said, maybe they're just biding their time to see, like, okay, maybe we do need to go get a Joe Flacco if push comes to shove, but who
I would
knows?
love second ring for Joe Flacco. What a time to be alive.
I mean, and that's the thing too, is like
And he wouldn't have to do a thing.
the Rams are right there too. So I mean, like, who's to say that the door's not getting knocked on by everybody? Like, hey, we want to come and join that squad.
Well, that's
So
true. I'm sure them agents are working overtime just to be like, hey, my client would love a ring,
yeah,
and you're the
Y-
second in command in the
yeah,
NFC.
yeah. You're the closest to it, other than the Seahawks. But any given Sunday, anything could happen for any team at any point.
Yep.
Um, yeah, that's it.
Rams fans have it good. They're not
Yep.
dealing with the stuff that the Dolphins and Ravens fans deal with.
Yeah, it's good to be in LA right now. The Rams are putting things together. We will see what happens next. We will be back next week to see maybe if they made a trade, maybe if they're staying put. We will start putting together our draft stuff because it's coming up pretty rapidly here. I think we have a little over a month. I think it's the 26th,
The draft, I think, is the 24th,
the 24th,
23rd.
23rd. Gotcha. So a little over a month.
Yep.
A little over a month, and yeah, 23rd
5 weeks.
to 26th. Yeah, I knew the 26th was in there. Okay, 5 weeks. We will start putting together our draft stuff to start talking about that, and could be all over the place because, as we just said, all the things we just said. So,
Hmm.
to read more, please go to Roundtable Rams. I will link that, and thank you, Billy, for joining me once again. We will be back next week.